Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, Brian McWilliams, where we're going to be making some jokes, laughing out at broken world, but also laying out the philosophy for the future, how we can fix this mess we're in and have a great time doing it all with a Mean Age Daydream. What's up, buttercups? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, Brian McWilliams, your bald, your beautiful host. We're going to be talking about Bald, Beautiful, and Bluey today, as you might have gleaned from the episode title here. I got to go through this Blaze article with you, and I think the Blaze is typically a fine outlet, as right-wing media outlets go. Of course, my good friends Matt and Terry Kibbe over at Free the People. Matt's got a regular show on the Blaze, and I appreciate that. And of course, the conversations that Glenn Beck has had. However, holy crap! If you want to hear the most idiotic piece of drivel ever published, in my opinion, then I've got a story for you coming up about what I can only call a Bible-thumping right-wing zealot attacking one of the most beloved children's cartoons in recent history, which is called Bluey. Anybody with children should know what I'm talking about. So we're going to start the show talking about that, but we're also going to get into Kamala Harris going on the Call Her Daddy podcast, what that says and how sad it is that the presidency has fallen so far, or I should say presidential candidates have fallen so far, and also some of the more idiotic statements that she made on that. And also we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with FEMA. I'm just going to let that sit. I don't even want to tease it. Just trust me, you're going to want to stay tuned to the episode to hear what's going on with FEMA and equity, rewriting the playbook for how they handle emergencies. So let's kick it off, guys. If you want to support the show, I would love it. Please go hit that subscribe button. As we've told you many times, we are absolutely shadow banned on YouTube, have been for years, one of the punishments of being an early forerunner in the space. So make sure you hit the notify button and subscribe. You can also subscribe on Rumble. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals. We are recording our new Secrets, Lies, and Cover-Up show this week, which is for our members only. It's going to be on the octopus murders, a pretty fascinating story of intrigue, murder, cover-ups, secret missile silos in Indian reservations, all that good stuff. So join us for that. And of course, we're doing our Degenerate Gambler show right now, which is our football and stories show during the season. All right, let's get into it. So The Blaze has a story. I guess this is in the Align lifestyle section. Align. I don't know. I don't know who thought up that branding. It's fucking dumb. And I say that as a communications professional who works in branding. But this is the article by Jeremy Pryor. And I know nothing about this person. Apparently he is a faith writer. And that's what makes this especially sad, is they're attacking Bluey from a position of right-wing conservative Christian faith, which is, basically brings up everything that people on the left and people like myself hate about religious zealotry, and people that call themselves good old-fashioned Christians and yet can't take a good thing at face value, right? Let no good deed go unpunished is essentially what's happening here. This guy's writing this article coming from a very Bible-thumpy perspective. And the entire thing, I'm going to read through it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read through certain highlights, because this title of this article is How a Beloved Children's Cartoon Turns Fathers into Mothers and What the Bible Says About It. Because, when people wrote the Bible, they were really thinking about cartoon shows several hundred years in the future, as you do. So, Bluey, for those of you who don't know, Bluey is a show which I highly recommend. It is, I would say, a universal good. It is a show out of Australia, which is interesting because it is, Australia, for all intents and purposes, has gone ultra woke. Full-blown retard woke. And there's certain areas pushing back. Hopefully today's News Talk TNT radio will be resurgent. That was a conservative online and also broadcast terrestrially in Australia show, which I was on regularly for a long time. But there's some conservative media that's pushing back in Australia, but for the most part, it is unbelievably woke. The culture's unbelievably woke. Their policies are beyond stupid, just embracing the worst of left-wing idiocy. And it's shocking to see a show like this come out of Australia, because the show itself centers around a nuclear family: dad, mom, two girls, right? Two little dogs. They're all dogs in the show. Blue Heelers is the daughter, Bluey. That's the Bluey, Blue Heeler. The dad is Bandit. The mom is named Chili. And then Bingo is the youngest daughter. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bingo's the youngest daughter. The show centers around a happy family, a functional family, right? It doesn't go out of its way to push any agenda. I will tell you that straight out. I've seen every episode of the show. It's funny as hell. It's well written, and it embraces a reality of what it's like to be a parent in a good functioning household. Both dad and mom help out, but there still are some traditional gender roles here, right? There are still the traditional family unit at play. Both parents are working. This guy, and I'll read this excerpt, he goes out of his way to say that somehow the father, who is let's say this guy is saying, here's the problem with this new ideal father. He embodies almost the elements of a traditional mother, purged of the essence of elements from historic fatherhood. And because he is engaged, empathetic, and present. Now, I don't know what Bible stories are out there that say that men are not supposed to be engaged nor present with their children or have any empathy. I thought that was a good thing. Isn't that, oddly enough, one of the messages of the Bible is to empathize with people, to understand, to, embody what being a good neighbor, a good citizen is supposed to be? Well, I'm sorry, but raising good children should be part and parcel of the Bible method, right? The Bible story should be pushing that, and Bluey does. The father works. The mother works. The father goes out of town at times. The mother goes out of town at times to work. But they're both functional and attentive. Bluey does a good job of addressing problems that do pop up, questions that pop up, responsibilities. There's episodes where the parents are clearly hung over. There's episodes where the parents clearly don't want to play, are too busy to play. But it does do a good job of also providing a perspective of, you know what? You should be more present in your kids' lives. There is just an article I read recently, which is all about how the next generation, right? The current generation, the Gen Zers out there, they are fucked up because of their lazy ass parents, because they can't handle any stress. They can't handle any adversity. They don't know how to operate on their own. I said, well, this is clearly because the millennials that had raised them, the Gen Xers that had raised them, were self-focused. They were on their phones. They were happy to offload their children into government schools and not take an active role in their lives. So why is this person, writing from a Christian conservative standpoint, trying to say that this is a bad thing when parents are taking an active role? Are actually, like, if you had a conservative household in the past, you probably had a stay-at-home mom, right? And maybe this guy loves that, but you had a ever-present parent there that is weighing in, that is interacting. A father would come home, but you still would have a father that was at least interacting with the kids, that isn't checked out on their phone, that isn't, again, offloading them to a government program or a nanny or daycare or whatever it might be. In Bluey, the kids go off to a school, but the parents are there when they're home. They're there on the weekends. They're teaching them active moments. And also, as I said, the show's funny because the parents are not treating these kids as though they're little dullards. They're not baby talking them. They're talking to them like they're little adults. They're trying to teach them how to work through problems in an intelligent way. It's fucking great. So let's get into what this guy hates. He hates that this father character is obviously robbed of his traditional masculinity. What? It says that it provides the mother all the time to get out and explore her individual passions. What? None of that's in the show, by the way. None of it. The mom and the dad both have responsibilities. They both take their turns going out in the world. The dad's got his hobbies. He plays footy with the boys. He still gets drunk and has barbecues. The mom isn't off all the time, traipsing around the world like you see these idiot left-wing social media women talk about, how they're childless and loving it. I get to drink wine at 8 a.m. in Italy. Having children's dumb. None of that's in this show. This is projection and it's ridiculous. So moving forward a little bit, so he attacks this archetype of the mother and the father. Okay. Oh, and by the way, this person also, I love this sneaky coward move. Listen to this. Now, today, almost no one thinks that these are objective ideals to these archetypes. And if they are right, then they personally resonate with the father, mother, and daughter depictions in Bluey, then everything I'm about to say will be dissonant and probably offensive. So let me say, even in the conservative Christian world, my position is a tiny minority, so maybe less than 1% agree with it. Feel free to stop reading if you're getting triggered. So this jerk-off is taking a tool from the left playbook here and trying to put it on the reader to tell them that, yeah, hey, I know I'm in the minority here, but stop reading if you're going to get triggered, nerd. You see that? You like how they use that left-wing word trigger to try to make you feel guilty if you think this person's a moron. You're just getting triggered, and that's not my problem, buddy. That's on you. You're getting triggered. I'm getting triggered by your fucking idiot take, and I'm amazed that the editors published this. So let's move on with this moronic take. So if you'd agree with these, you'll like or disagree with me. The premises, right, is what this guy's saying. Number one, masculinity and femininity are not social constructs or biological concepts, but are family concepts designed to create a certain dynamic and construct a highly functional multi-generational team. All right, I agree with that. Two, the Bible presents meta descriptions of masculinity and fatherhood and femininity through symbolic characters primarily rooted in the story of Genesis. Okay, fine. Again, I don't know what this has to do with Bluey, because those roles are actually pretty well defined in Bluey, and they stick to the more or less traditional stereotypes. Number three, meta depictions of these roles are good and necessary to give culture a large, something to create, concrete to aim at, even though all of us as individuals will find some elements of these roles dissonant to our desires or even our innate wiring. Yep, I'm on board with all these. So why would I be triggered? Oh, that's right. It's because this guy goes out of his way to call Bluey somehow the opposite of male archetypes, right? Somehow that Bluey is going against Jesus in his parables because Abraham is Father Abraham. And it's the articles. Again, I don't want to read this whole thing. It's a very long article, but it boggles the mind that you can write something this ridiculous. So this is, and again, this guy acknowledges that Christian families love the show. So he goes, I first heard of red flags in Bluey from my two teenage daughters who watched an episode after hearing from so many Christian families who love the show, and they immediately saw what was happening. So the girls go, they treat their dad like a plaything. Yeah, they do. They want to play with their dad. Is that a bad thing? And he's saying that his teen daughters were alarmed by this. This is another example of a person that is obviously highly controlling of their children, right? These children we talk about brainwashing, and this is what I said in the title of this episode. This is the right wing eating itself, right? Because Bluey is such a universally loved show. And as I mentioned, one of the least woke shows out there. I'll give you an example. They go out of the way. Number one, I can't even think of a time when they push same-sex, same-gender nonsense in this show. I'm not even saying it's nonsense in general. I actually have no problem with the show at some point addressing a same-sex couple. I was just out, took my kids, my wife's out of town. I took them out to a kids' playground museum. We're at the Cheesecake Factory afterwards. Horrible idea. Don't know why I took them, fighting them the entire time. But there happened to be a table next to us with two daddies and a little baby. And my daughter asked me, hey, Dad, why are there two daddies over there? So I tell her, right? I explain it as best I can, in the simplistic way that a 4-year-old can understand. And my kid's a very smart 4-year-old. She gets it. But it comes up. So I don't have a problem with the show addressing it, but I honestly can't think of a time that Bluey even went down that path, to the best of my knowledge. They go out of their way to showcase that you do not treat your kids like little dolls that get everything that they want. They do not have this woke bullshit where everybody gets a prize. There's an episode I loved where they have a game called Pass the Parcel. And the idea of the game is everybody passes around, you unwrap it when the music stops, and you get a toy out or whatever it might be. And in the original game, they have everybody win. Everybody got a prize. Now, that's not the way the game's supposed to be. And this one character, Lucky, Lucky's dad, he goes, that's not how you play it. Let me show you how you play it. And you only have one winner. You unwrap it, you unwrap it, you unwrap it, you pass it around, and only one kid wins. And at first, all the kids cry, and all the parents are upset with Lucky's dad. And Lucky's dad goes, that's the way it's supposed to be played. But the kids learn that that's actually the better way to do it, that not everybody wins every time, that it's better to have one winner at times and have the excitement of I may win, I may not win. And the kids then asked to play that way. This is the kind of non-woke, regular old, good old-fashioned, hey, get your kids to grow up knowing that's winners and losers, knowing that life isn't easy all the time. That's what the show embodies. And this fucking nutbag is attacking it and saying that his kids are aghast. This is the right wing eating itself. This is the right wing. This is what everybody hates about Christian conservative media writers. They can't accept a good for a good. In fact, Bluey is what conservative media outlets, if you want to talk about, not even else, conservative production companies, if you want to see what right wing or libertarian content should look like, this is what it should look like. Funny, likable, doesn't beat you over the head. Not Kirk Cameron out there, dressing up as Moses to tell people how great Jesus is. People don't fucking want to see that crap. Just like the left wing and their message crib. Nobody wants to see it. Bluey's the answer. So this guy, they treat their dad like a plaything, say his brainwashed daughters. Yeah, little girls want to play with their dads. That's okay. It's a good thing to play with your kids. That's how they learn. You can teach them as you play with them. It's not bad that using them as a plaything. So this guy says, well, there's hundreds of interesting elements of fatherhood one can glean from studying how God interacts with the meta-father, Abram, but I'm pretty sure Bandit is in no way tethered to this understanding of fatherhood. Nope, I guess he's not. I guess Bandit's not tethered to the Abramatic understanding of fatherhood. What a fucking jerk off. God, what a jerk off. Okay, so moving forward, I'll skip to the end of the article. He takes umbrage after going into the Bible and how this is an affront to fatherhood and masculinity. And oh my God, won't somebody think of the children? He then finishes his piece up with the dumbest of dumb points. So he talks about the traditional roles, the disciples, blah, blah, blah. Then he says, and in the same way, creating a daughter named Bluey, using the color blue is totally lost on us. It goes right past our conscious awareness. If we do think about it, we think it's cool that they're reversing the gender stereotype of colors. We're playing checkers with those who are playing chess, and we've been checkmate over and over again. This idiot thinks that the people, by the way, the dad is blue. He's got a blue coat. The mom has a red coat. The dad is a blue healer. The mom is like, I don't know, some sort of red, I don't know, let's call her a sheepdog, whatever it is. She's got reddish hair. The younger daughter, Bingo, is colored like the mom. Bluey, the show is named after, is colored like the dad. And this fucking moron thinks that we've been checkmated because they made the girl blue. If you want to know why people don't take Christian conservative critics, Christian conservative media, Christian conservative film, anything related to it seriously, look no further than this dipshit being checkmated because they made the daughter have the same fur as the dad. Jeremy Pryor, everybody. The Blaze, everybody. Good job, Glenn. Fire your editor. Fire this idiot. Okay, let's move on. While we're talking about media, I have not seen The Joker 2. At this point, I'm not going to see The Joker 2. I don't even think I'll watch it when it comes on to streaming. Number one, because many of you might know this, I used to be an actor. I actually went to college as an actor and quickly realized that I hate actors. So I dropped out of the program And a funny story, I actually dropped out of the program because I had a teacher at Penn State who was known for his best roles as black FBI agent in Die Hard movie and a Scope commercial. Some of you old heads might remember this, where his wife rolls over to give him a kiss in the morning and he has such stinky breath. He goes, "Oh no, baby, no, no, no." This jerk off was in charge of whether or not I got to advance in the program, and he hated me for whatever reason. I mean, I'm sure we can all listen. We know I'm very hateable. This fucker hated me, and I hated him. And he gave me a half letter minus. You had to get a flat B to progress in the program. And for some reason, the idiots at Penn State, which has only gotten woke and shitty, by the way, so FYI, had decided that he was the end-all be-all judge of who gets to advance in the program. So the fucker gave me a B minus. It means I had to take his stupid class over again. And I said, no, I'm out. Fuck this. So I went to English. Was much happier. But having been an actor, having been in multiple musicals, and having a beautiful singing voice, I fucking hate musicals. They suck. Every musical ever made is shit. And, oh, there you go. Oh, look, thank you, Tyler. Tyler says, "Mom and Dad are both healers. They can be reddish in color and, of course, blue." There you go. They're both healers. Again, this prior guy, idiot. So they make the Joker 2. And I'm like, okay, interesting. It's a musical. It's a fucking musical. And they put Lady Gaga in it. Now, from what I've read, Joaquin Phoenix gives a good performance. Lady Gaga actually gives a good performance, but I have zero interest in seeing a musical. And intentionally, I swear to God, and look, Todd Phillips, I love Todd Phillips. He's the guy that directed it. He also wrote and directed the Hangover films, some of the funniest non-woke films ever made. He went out and he stood on a limb and said, "I'm not making comedy anymore because the woke left mobs won't let you be funny." This is not somebody that should be hated. This is not somebody that is a woke leftist. For all of you fucking right-wing tards out there, that's not who Todd Phillips is. And the first Joker I thought was a very good film. I don't know what he was thinking with this stupid musical idea. But I will tell you this, dorks, you're allowed to have a swing and a miss, especially when you have the resume of Todd Phillips. That being said, a $200 million failure like this, I don't know who greenlit it. It must have been a masturbatory project because Todd Phillips has made so much money over the years for Warner Brothers. But who's the audience? Nobody from the original that was a fan of the original Joker film is going to want to see a musical version of the Joker. And let alone, it also got terrible reviews leading out of cons. It also features the Joker being raped in prison by guards. That came out quickly, and everybody was like, okay, I don't need to see a musical where the Joker is gay raped in prison. And thus, it is on track to have the worst opening, I think, of all time for a comic book movie that wasn't named Jonah Hex. Even a worse opening than the Marvels. That says something. So, one more example of the lumps being taken by people making shit content like this. And I've seen the trend. It is reversing, guys. They talked about last episode. It's all coming back around. It's just coming around slowly. Now, that being said, there's still a lot of wokeness out there in the world. October 7th just had its anniversary. Now, I'm not going to go on a long rant about it. I briefly talked about it the first time it happened. My take on this is this. The United States shouldn't be paying a single fucking dime towards it. Jim Jordan had some big thing he posted on X. Oh, well, we'll stand by and we'll get whatever they want. He said, which fucking, are you pledging allegiance to their flag or ours, Jim? That's it. If Israel wants to be involved in the Middle East with conflicts there, if they want to keep going, and don't forget, they had funded Hamas. Let's not forget that. Go for it. If you want to purchase military equipment, as much problem I have with that, because obviously the military industrial complex drives the global war state as well as the banks drive the global war state between the bankers and the military. That's who's calling the shots here. But we shouldn't give them a fucking dime of foreign aid, especially when you've got FEMA running out of funds, especially when you've got the Ukraine sucking billions and billions of dollars out of our economy. And, something got pointed out too with this, and we're going to talk about FEMA in just a little bit. We'll talk about this next. Just to make a quick point here. When we're talking about the FEMA budget running out, it is amazing how We don't have any money for it, but yet we've got millions and millions for Israel, millions and millions and millions for Ukraine. And don't forget, the Biden-Harris administration pulled billions of dollars out of their fucking asses to buy votes and try to give people student loan forgiveness. Yet we don't have money for infrastructure, for food, for water, for transportation in our own country to rebuild it. Can't find the money, guys. Amazing how that works. Anyway, focusing on the wokeness of October 7th. I don't know why. I don't know how this got approved. I don't know why it's still up. But the Minnesota Vikings, and granted, Minnesota is run by ultra wokeists. Sadly, now that's not to say every part of Minnesota, because I've got family in Minnesota who I love, who hate Kamala Harris and hate Tim Walz. But Minneapolis, obviously the center and the population center of Minnesota, is one of the wokest plucking places on earth. Tim Walz obviously was governor of there, or was governor of Minnesota, and allowed Minneapolis to burn. The Vikings are in that vein, despite the fact that I'm sure most of their fans are not sharing the same mindset. So they tweeted this piece of shit out. The Minnesota Vikings. Statement from the Minnesota Vikings. Today, as we remember the one-year anniversary of the reprehensible Hamas attacks on Israel, we mourn the loss of all innocent lives from this ongoing conflict. We stand against the rising anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and know we must steadfastly work towards combating hate in all forms. We pray for the 101 hostages who have yet to be freed. And I'm not laughing at the hostages or the violence. I'm just laughing. It's so ridiculous. An NFL team would tweet this out. We pray for the 101 hostages who have yet to be freed, and our deepest hope is for a future of peace and safety throughout the region. The Minnesota fucking Vikings. Why? Why would you tweet this out? Did you hire Bud Light's fired dipshit Harvard-educated marketing director, that chick that ruined Bud Light and cost them billions and billions and billions in market share? I mean, the comments on this are exactly what you'd think. People saying, shut the fuck up and play football. That's it. Exactly. Hobo Ghost. Why is a football team feeling like they need to comment on foreign wars? Exactly. 5-0. Get this Disney shit off the timeline. I loved that one. How about this one? Any statement about the 277th confirmed dead in the hurricane? Or, the conflict in our borders. I mean, holy shit. What are you doing? There's no upside to this. This is what I don't understand. These fucking people are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm sure whoever handles the marketing and communications or social media for the Vikings is getting paid over $150,000 a year, easily. They had to have gotten approval from the higher ups to tweet out a statement about Hamas and Israel. Now, how many people are Vikings fans that are either allegiant to Hamas or Israel that are going to read this and go, thank God, Vikings? I mean, what, woke fucking dipshits in your own state of Minneapolis? I guarantee most of them are not on the side of Israel. So wait, are you banking on all the massive Jews that are inhabiting Minnesota? Thank you. Skol! There's no upside to this. It's all downside. It's all people going, stick to football, you jerk off, asshole, virtue signaling, warmongering, military industrial complex shills. Like, this is pathetic. Pathetic. And it's unnecessary. This is the thing. It's unnecessary to comment. What's the upside? Is Israel writing you a big fat check from the foreign aid that we give them? Is one of your board members on Halliburton? On Northrop Grumman's board? Like, wow, is there an overlap here I don't know about that you tweet something this fucking stupid out? I just don't get it. I don't get how it's still up. That person should be fired immediately. Okay. Moving on. I talked about FEMA. I want to share this video. I mean, wokeness and leftism and this, it starts with bad hiring practices. which is, of course, hiring people that have a DEI focus. They're hired because they're DEI hires, and then they have a DEI-centric mindset. So FEMA, which is your primary job, should be to help people in need as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible, right? And I would argue to help the most people possible the fastest way possible. But that apparently is not how FEMA likes to operate. Let me share this unbelievably telling video with you. And frankly, you will be shocked. Here you go. It's about a minute and a half. I'm going to play the whole thing for you guys so you can really embrace the hate here. All right. Lay it on us, cadre of DEI hires.
In my mind, thinking about.
Oh, and by the way, let me just be clear. What you're looking at, if you're watching on the screen, you can see who these people are. If you're just listening, I'll describe them. You have ultra gay, he, they, Tyler, who's starting off talking. You've got Hispanic nerd, Mr. Rogers, cozy sweater, slick back hair, and mustache with glasses, Hispanic hire. You've got lesbian black woman on the top, and you've got lesbian white woman on the bottom, and then a guy that looks like he just happened to be there when all these people got hired and got stuck with them. That's who you're listening to here. So let's play it.
Preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been.
Oh, sorry, the guy's translated. The only normal looking guys. Hold on. The only normal looking guy is actually the translator for the people that are deaf watching this. It's just too funny. Can you do lisps and accents in American Sign Language? Because that'd be pretty funny. Just he's signing for the he they guy, and at the end of every sign, he just puts his wrist down. Universal symbol for he they. Okay. Anyway,
people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself. And I think that is maybe the why of why we're having these discussions, is because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being socialized. We're not paying attention to this community. Thank you so much. Maggie.
Thank you. There are a couple of things that are intersecting in my mind here. One of them is the culture of emergency management as an organization, as an industry in the United States specifically, not abroad. This has, and my cat sometimes does this, she gets really loud suddenly, so you'll have to just allow for the little meowing in the background.
Was there any question that the very dykey looking she, her Maggie Jari is also a cat owner? There was zero question, just to clarify. The shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity. But we have to do more, right? And so this topic is intersecting, I think, with a number of other topics where we have to look at policies and understand to what extent they have disadvantaged communities that had less assets, communities that had pre-existing vulnerabilities in accessing disaster-related recovery supports. We
sparked a few things.
So that's enough of that. Oh, hold on. Enough of that. So you've got the focus, guys, not on doing the most good, helping the most people. No, the focus is on, well, LGBTQIXYZ were disadvantaged to start, so we need to help them. It's FEMA aid equity instead of, hey, everybody here got fucked. Let's help everybody get back on their feet. That's one of the most sickening displays I've ever seen of blatant bigotry against people that aren't in your selected cadre of favored, when you come, self-identifiers, favored sexualities, favored genders, favored colors, whatever you want to fucking call it. These pieces of human shit are so bigoted, they are going to plan on only helping their favored few. Forget helping the masses. Forget the actual premise of what your organization is and focus only on what gives you a fucking hard on as a DEI, ESG, LGBTQI, FXE centered, brainwashed, evil motherfucker. What you saw there is the definition of pure evil. This is why my evolution on looking at left-wing policies has changed so much, because I don't view these people merely as stupid. I view them as evil. That is pure evil. Withholding aid from people because they don't match the color and the alphabet soup that you like is fucking evil. Disband FEMA, fire everybody involved. This is the government has to be taken down to the studs. That's it. That's it. There's no fixing it. There's no resuscitating its dead corpse. There's no way of salvaging it. It has to be torn down to the studs. That's the only way forward. Because if you're telling me that organization can be saved, hearing that, then you've lost your mind even more than they have. All right, finishing up here. Kamala Harris goes on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Now, I have long thought that the presidency and basically what it's become. I mean, when Obama went on a late night show for the first time, I shook my head and I was like, this is pretty pathetic. It is pathetic. The president of the United States should not be going on late night shows. The president of the United States, a candidate for the United States, should not be going on a podcast best known for telling women how to give blowjobs and, I don't know, jam fingers or hairbrushes up their asses. That's probably not the best place. But Kamala Harris is desperate and pathetic. And so she goes on this to try to make women get pissed off about abortion, misrepresenting it, by the way. And I'm so sick of hearing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are going to nationally get rid of abortion. They've said a million times they're not. It's with the states. That's where it's going to stay. That's it. It's fucking stupid. It's a blatant lie. It's idiotic. If you believe it, you're an idiot. And Kamala Harris is going on this podcast to speak to idiots. That's it. And the thing is, all the people that are going to listen to this podcast are already going to vote for Kamala Harris anyway. So it's a pointless and degrading to what would be the office of vice president or president. And I say this as somebody who doesn't even have any respect for the presidency. I don't identify with the president. I don't think anybody should identify with the president. I think presidents are a joke and they're all fucking criminals. They should all be in jail. But I still think this is below the office of the president or vice president or a presidential candidate. It's pathetic. But she goes on there. And this dumbass Alex Cooper, says she doesn't want to be political, but there's such an important thing. Blah, blah, blah. So they're talking about abortion. And she asks her a question. Hey, can you think of a law that a man has that has control over their body? Right? Now, number one, easily debunked because obviously the Selective Service, the draft, has full control over men's bodies and sends them off to die. Men. Number two, I would argue as a counterpoint, I can't think of a law that allows men to murder people. Can you? Because, being sent off to war, I guess, is the way, but that's Selective Service. That's control over a man's body. So you have to have control of your body in order to go and have the power to murder. But I can't think of any other laws that give men the power to murder. And I'm sorry, but abortion gives women the power to murder. So how about that? Can we think about it from that simple perspective? Maybe turn on its head. And I'm not somebody that thinks that abortion should be flat out outlawed. I do think that there is an area there where you should be able to have something done. For me, I've talked about it on the show before. I think, for me, it comes down to, I think, therefore I am. If there's brain activity there, and we have the technology to monitor that now, too late. It's too late. That's a human. You can't kill it. When does the right of the fetus exist? And for so many Democrats, the right of the fetus never exists. Ever. So again, tell me where a man has a law permitting them to kill. Because we don't have one. But yet, you're not going to hear any of that from the Call Her Daddy podcast of sycophantic, preordained questions. No, it was interesting, though, on the flip side, Kamala Harris did an interview with CBS, and they actually pushed her on some questions, and it was full meltdown mode. Now, I'm not going to play a clip of it because I don't feel like getting demonetized on YouTube, but they actually asked her some pretty good questions. They pressed her on the border, which she had a full meltdown over. They pressed her on her flip-flopping on issues, which she did not handle well. They pushed her on a lot of issues. To be honest, if you were a neutral person watching that CBS interview, the only one she's done where they actually provided any pushback, you may come away from that not liking Kamala Harris so much. Because as we've seen, if she actually is pressed on these questions, and it's not a, again, media that is completely bowing down to the left-wing bias, like your debate moderators, like MSNBC's interviews or CNN, she doesn't come across so good. And I think that while CBS could have been harder, they did a pretty damn good job. And it was nice to see a black man giving her the biz. But of course, CBS, I'm sure, knew that. We're like, if we're gonna give Kamala the pushback she deserves here, we better put a black dude up there and none of our whiteys. So good job, CBS. But circle back to the Call Her Daddy. So I was laughing my ever-loving ass off at this, and I'm just going to play the whole thing. It goes in well with the theme of Mean Age Daydream, and this is from Danny Polishuk, who actually, so Ryan Long, comedian Ryan Long, who's great, he's been on the show several times. He and Danny have a podcast together that they do. And, oh God, I think it's called The Boys Cast. Yeah, The Boys Cast. So check them out on there, but I will definitely promote Danny here at Danny Jokes. He is hilarious and very much non-woke, but he made an AI version of the Kamala Harris on Call Her Daddy. I will play that to end the show. So guys, thank you for watching and listening. Again, please hit subscribe. Please share the show. If you'd be so kind, we'd love it if you gave us some reviews. Type those on real quick, 5-star review on iTunes, on Spotify would be great. And don't forget, I do a comedy podcast. It's great. The First Episode podcast. You can find it on Rumble. You can find it on, actually in the show notes, I've got links to it. We review first episodes, pilot episodes of brand new shows. We just did The Penguin, and we do an old show. We did Most Extreme Elimination Challenge last episode. But we also tell, those happen to be two good shows. We actually prefer it when they're real shitty so we can make fun of them. But go check that out, the First Episode podcast. All right, let's finish up with Danny here, and I will see you guys later because I'm just going to end the show after this. Enjoy Danny's AI version.
Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's really great to be here.
We are 1 month out from the election. My audience is basically just whores and gay guys. Why should they vote for you?
I think it's simple. Vote for me and you'll have the first hoe in chief. Or vote for Donald Trump and no more abortions.
I love that you just called yourself hoe in chief. My audience of girl boss whores really can relate to that.
Google my name and Willie Brown or Montel Williams. It's not an act.
I love it. You've been married to Doug for 10 years now. What does he like in the bedroom?
I'd say I'm probably the more adventurous one between the two of us. He's pretty vanilla, but that pairs real nice with some chocolate.
What does that look like then?
All kinds of stuff. Breath play, knife play, some light BDSM. He really loves to get pegged.
Most people would assume that.
That's definitely his favorite. He likes it when I put a ball gag in his mouth and peg him while calling him my dirty little whore first gentleman.
That's so freaky. We talk about blowjobs a lot on this podcast. Probably half of everything we talk about. Everyone assumes you're a throat goat. Is that accurate?
Of course. I like to get down there and just make a real mess of things. Messier than how we pulled out of Afghanistan.
Wow, that is messy. What about the balls? Do you like to get in there?
Doug goes wild when I put rubber bands
Oh no!
around them until they turn blue. And when he can't take the pain anymore, I peg him until he cries.
Damn, you might be the freakiest guest we've ever had.
I'm a natural leader, which is what helps Doug bust nuts, but that is also the thing that makes me the best option to lead this country come November.
If you win, I bet Doug will be coming in November.
For his sake, I hope we win. Because if I lose, Doug is going to be sitting on a donut for the entire Trump presidency, maybe even the rest of his life.
Danny Jokes. All right, later.